Welcome to Getting to Know ACS with Tracy
and Jasmine.
And today we have a very special guest with us. We have the Chief of ACS, Miss Nancy Thomas Mainor. So Nancy, welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. And good morning.
Yes, good morning. So, this is very informal, and we just want to get your perspective as the Chief of ACS. What do you see the vision of ACS being?
What I see the vision of ACS being is to provide the needs to the community, what those needs are. I always say we have our regulations, we have our guidance, but what is it that the community really needs? And with that being said, getting that information out there, that shows like this, getting to know ACS, that the community will know ACS, who we are and what we do.
Right.
And we will be their first choice when it comes to programs and services and support for the families and the soldiers.
Okay. And I just want people to understand, that you're the chief of ACS, but you've been down in the trenches with us. You weren't always the chief of
this
ACS.
This is true.
So, and we were talking earlier, you were in mobilization and deployment when you first came on board, I believe.
Correct, yes.
And then you were there for some years, and then you became the
Soldier and Family Assistance Center Director.
Yes, and you did that for some years, too. And then now here you are today.
Yes,
but you really do know the workings of ACS, because being in those other programs, you had to work with the other programs.
Yes.
So it's not like you're just like, oh, I'm the chief, and I really don't know what's going on. But you know, because you've been in it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even before becoming a ACS employee, I was a volunteer for ACS. So I was a volunteer in the Army Family Team Building Program.
Oh, okay.
So I taught classes and briefings for spouses during that time as well, too.
Okay, so I didn't even realize that. And then you were also a military spouse.
Yes, I was a military spouse at the
So
time.
you have all the, you understand what ACS is all about.
Absolutely.
Because you've been in there.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that ACS does, and Jasmine, you can attest to this.
Yeah.
What's a frequent phone call that you get at ACS?
About 10 times a day, I get phone calls about counseling. They say, I need to speak to somebody for this issue or this issue. And every time I'm just like, here's an MFLAC, which is a military family life counselor.
Correct.
You can give some more information on that, because I more so just know the basics, but I don't know too in depth of what they do.
Okay, yeah, our military and family life counselors, it's a contract on the installation, and they are Army-wide as well. So they provide non-medical counseling as well, and it is short-term, and it also is a situational problem-solving type of service as well that they can receive. And so they just have a range of services they can provide for the issues that our military families face as well.
Okay. So one of the things, because I know a lot of people think that we as ACS, that we're counselors. And so I appreciate the fact that you said they're contracted and they fall in the ACS family.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So, but they're not just located at ACS.
No, they're not. They are also located in the schools, so we have them embedded in our schools and in our CYS as well, and in the brigades. Okay. So the brigades have a MFLAC as well.
Okay. So with the schools, now the schools that they're at, they're the schools that have the higher population of military kids.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So if someone has, if they're living in an area where there's not a real high population of military children, they may not have
an MFLAC.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But if they don't have one, then that's when they can call ACS.
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct. So if if the school doesn't have one and they do need some assistance, we are able to actually move them to areas where the support is needed as well. So we have the capabilities to what we do is called a surge. We have that capabilities to do that.
Oh, okay.
As well, and meet the needs where that is needed. And the MFLEX they're in the middle schools mainly. That's where they are as well. So they're in the middle schools.
Okay, and then the younger kids, they can get that service at the CYS.
Yes, that is correct. That's correct.
And so now with the MFLEX, I think one thing just with counseling in general, there's a stigma. I don't want anybody to know that I'm talking to a counselor, or if I go to a counselor as a soldier, oh, is this going to be on my record? Is this going to keep me from getting promoted? So how do the MFLACs kind of maneuver with that?
That is one of the things that soldiers and families like about the MFLAC program, and then it's one of the things that command doesn't like so much about the MFLAC.
It's that double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. So because they do short-term counseling, right? But they do not keep any records. So it's not going to be recorded anywhere. And so command's not going to get information back concerning what the counseling session was about or anything of that nature. Now, they are mandatory reporters.
Right.
So if there's anything that's illegal, domestic violence, or anything of that nature, they do have a responsibility to report that.
Okay. So do the MFLACs, they can meet them. Where do they do their counseling? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
They can basically meet with someone at any place except their homes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So what we have found to be before COVID that was very helpful, because there is that stigma. I don't want anybody to know that I'm seeing a counselor. That kind of thing. So of course we have facilities that they can meet with them in. But one of I think one of the great things is that in the Freedom Crossing, you could just be sitting there eating with someone.
Right, nobody knows.
Nobody would know, so I'm just having lunch, basically, or we're just talking. So that's a good thing about they don't have to meet with someone in an office if that person desires not to. Just they can meet them anywhere in the parks. We've had a meeting in the parks at ACS. We have that big huge tree in the front, and we've got a picnic table there. So oftentimes you see people just sitting there, and unbeknownst that is an MFLAC talking with a family or something.
Yeah, and it could just be people out there eating lunch too.
So because I do see a lot of ACS staff eating lunch out there.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the beauty of it. Yeah. You don't know,
right?
And I think that kind of takes away from that stigma that I'm getting counseling,
right?
And so and I think it's important that people understand that counseling is actually a sign of strength.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Because I recognize that I need help, that I can't do it on my own. So this the Military Family Life Counselors, the MFLAC program, I think this is a wonderful program that we have here. And like you said, this is available at most installations or
at all installations.
Oh, at all installations. Okay. Yeah. And then they have the separate ones for the youth. And then they have the ones for the adults.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. And then can a family member see a counselor by themselves without the soldier, or is it strictly I have to have the soldier?
No, they can. As a family member, they can see a counselor without the soldier as well.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
Well, then it's nice because they're super non-judgmental, which I feel people get concerned about. Like, if I tell them my story, are they going to judge me? Or, are they going to look down on me? And from what I've heard for reviews, like, they're actually really good.
Yeah, and then for them to meet them anywhere. So these are, again, that's the Military Family Life Counselors, and this is a part of ACS, part of the benefit of being a service member, being a family member that comes with, our wonderful world of ACS. So I just wanted to make sure that we talked about that because, as Jasmine said, we do have a lot of people that call, and they're like, we're wanting counselors. But what I do want them to understand is that there's a difference between the MFLAC and going to one of our classes. That, they're kind of separate in that area. So the people who teach our classes are not counselors.
Are not counselors. They are not.
Okay. So these people are separate. Okay. So
and our military life consultants, they are licensed master degree or doctorate degree as well.
Yes.
And so they have their have their specialties, and it could be in the field, one of the fields of behavioral health, psychology, social worker, marriage and family therapist, or a counselor as well. So they are very trained to do what they do. They're just doing it on our side of the house as non-medical.
Right.
Many of these military life consultants have their own practices. And what is just so fascinating to me is that many of them just want to give back to the military.
Okay.
So often many of them have closed their practices, or doing their practices part-time, and then they're doing this as well.
Okay. So it just out of pure, it's like, I want to help military families.
Yes.
So that's awesome. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that they're doctors or, master level counselors and have had their own practices. So it's not like they're coming in and using our families as guinea pigs. For lack of a better.
Right.
And one of the good things with them is that they are a supplement to our existing services.
Right.
So they're a supplement to behavioral mental health. They are a supplement to the ACS programs that we have. So those areas where they are not able to provide services, say if it's domestic violence, if there was something illegal or criminal activity, that kind of thing, or sexual assault or harassment in those areas, suicide. So they don't address those areas, but they do a warm handoff.
Right.
So they coordinate with those services or that program that takes care of those kinds of things.
And that works both ways, because I have, being in ACS, I have seen the influx, like for domestic violence, take the client to one of our victim advocates to give them help. But also when we're having a class and you can kind of tell from the way that they're acting in class, it's like, you might benefit from talking to someone else, and we'll do like a warm handoff to the influx. Because, there's been many times that I've had to call, it's like, let's go on a break and you come with me.
Yes, absolutely.
And they and they're very receptive, because especially the ones that, since they're right there in ACS with us.
And that is a plus to have them there in the facility. Even though we have MFLAGs out in the brigades, sometimes, just as you were saying, a soldier or family member will walk through the ACS doors, and they may be there for financial counseling or something else. But then as the counselors are talking with them, they are picking up on different things, or they disclose different things.
Right.
And so it's really, it's really accessible to have that MFLAG there to say, hey, you know what, let me let you talk with one of our counselors. Right. Basically, as well. So with ACS, that's one of the things I love so much about ACS, because we do that wraparound service.
Yes.
Yeah, I may come in and I'm just looking for employment. But as I'm talking to that employment specialist, I'm talking about the stress in my household because I've only got one income. Yes. I'm talking about my husband is just driving me crazy because he wants me to get a job, and I'm really not trying to get, so, oh, that's my story. I'm sorry. Oops. Had a moment. Had a moment there. And then being able to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to help take care of this. But I also think maybe you would benefit from talking to someone else.
And I'm glad you brought that up about the wraparound services of ACS. So, it's not always about, I need an AER loan or I need financial help. As you said, our people, we're going to be talking to you and finding out.
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying this to me, but it sounds like, you might be a little stressed. So have you considered, stress management?
Absolutely.
Or, you're in here stressed because your child the reason why you're stressed is because your child has colic or whatever. You know what? We got new parent support to help you out with that.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you mentioned how ACS is a wraparound program, and it covers basically, the needs of our military families.
Yes. So. Basically, it really pretty much covers that whole military life cycle as well. It does, because from we've got, our soldiers are deploying, so it's preparation, then it's while they're gone, and then it's preparing to bring them back, and the families to receive them back into the home as well. And this is one of the areas where the MFLACs can help as well, where they can augment what we do at ACS.
Right. Okay.
Because they can also, within the brigade, in their footprints, they can do deployment and reintegration type trainings and address those issues as well, because they're right there in the command, and they're hearing from the command the type of concerns and issues that command may be having.
Right. And
well.
then, one thing about the deployment, you're talking about the deployment cycle and that reintegration. And of course, they get that briefing.
Yes.
But sometimes in that briefing, it's like, I don't want anybody else to know
Right.
that I'm having anxiety about my soldier coming back, or I'm having anxiety about reintegrating with my family.
Right.
And you have that MFLAC who can do a one-on-one reintegration type counseling for you. So, yeah, that's awesome about that.
And I feel like the chain of command is actually listening too, because I get calls where they're just like, my soldier is struggling with this. How can you help me? And so they're willing to take on that information, opposed to a couple years ago where they're just like, no, don't seek counseling because that's going to look bad on your record.
Exactly.
So.
Oh, that is good, because because that's what we want command to know too, that we're here to assist them. We're here to help. We want to be that combat multiplier for
Yes,
them. We want to be that
Yeah.
for them, because there are risk factors that they experience out there in their commands, and those risk factors could be a negative on that soldier's career. Say for instance, if that soldier has a clearance type of job that they're doing, and then they're having financial issues, that could pose a problem for that soldier continue to do their job that they're doing. And then of course, guess what? ACS, here we are. We have the financial readiness section. We have that program there to help them, debt management type things, managing their finances, and also assist them with maintaining that security clearance.
Exactly. Because I remember, and I guess they still do that, but back in the day, so many soldiers, when we were training posts, so many soldiers would come in that needed help with getting their credit fixed so that they could get that security clearance. So that goes back into that financial readiness and sitting down with one of our counselors.
Right.
And we've had them on. In fact, we're going to have them back on to speak about budgeting specifically.
Good.
So,
Good.
so stay tuned for that for that episode.
Absolutely.
So, Nancy, is there anything else that you want our listeners to know about ACS or about the MFLAC program or anything? Just give us all you got.
Absolutely. And so regarding the military family life counselors, and you said right off the bat that there's a stigma attached to reaching out for counseling. And honestly, that's a strength, because guess what? In this life, we all go through different life changes. There are different life cycles that we go through, right? And so with the military life consultants, oftentimes it's not huge stuff. It's just things, life skill things. How do I handle this? Having somebody to talk that out with, having someone kind of to coach you through those kinds of things, right? Right now I'm having a tough time, because guess what? Our military is younger now. So we've got younger people who have left parents' home, married soldier, and PCSed all the way to Fort Bliss, Texas. Where in the world? What is this?
In the middle of nowhere.
I have no idea what I'm supposed to do or what I'm doing, right? And so now you've got these two people that have got to come together and mesh together as one. And I don't even know myself yet.
Exactly.
I don't know how to do these things, because my parents have been doing all this all the time. And so just life skill kinds of things, helping them through that. So what I want to say to our audience is this: don't look at it as if I need to talk to someone that, there's something wrong with me, or anything of that nature. No, you're doing something to prepare you and build a foundation where as you're continuing to grow, you'll be growing stronger.
Exactly.
As well. So I say if there is a need to talk to someone, just talk out a situation. Maybe it could even be a work situation.
Yes.
Right? Sometimes there's a lot of stress in the workplace as well. Dealing with people in the workplace, conflict resolution, that kind of stuff, right? So talking with a military life consultant can help you work through those kinds of things as well.
And I think, you talk about the need for it. I think a lot of people have realized now, especially during COVID, and where we weren't able to have our normal support that we get through our family, our friends, or whatever, because of not being able to be with them. I think people are realizing how important it is to have someone to talk to and to be able to talk to a counselor.
Absolutely.
And I just want to stress that just like all the other services that we offer at ACS, this is free.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
free. It's free.
You are right.
And people pay good money to go to a counselor.
Oh, yes.
And, as a military family or service member, guess what?
Yes.
Utilize your benefits that that are afforded to you, because when you get out, you can't use them.
Exactly.
Right.
And here's the other thing, too. Although all of what we do is free, we have the same requirements. We have the same education, the degrees, the certifications that are needed, and the military life consultants have that as well. So they are equipped. It's not that, hey, these are just people that can talk. No, they are trained and equipped to do this as well as ACS. Everything that we offer in ACS is free. But that doesn't mean that you're getting a less of a product,
right?
Or service. It just means that because we are connected to the Army has seen that these programs are important. These programs are needed by these soldiers and these family members with the challenges that they are faced with now.
Right. So free doesn't mean substandard.
Exactly.
You're getting high quality because like you mentioned earlier, they're doctors.
Yes.
Some of them could be doctors or they're master level
and they're licensed.
And our financial readiness people, they're licensed. Financial readiness, our instructors.
Yes.
They all have degrees in social services. So free doesn't mean substandard. It's a benefit. So,
absolutely. It is absolutely. You're absolutely correct. And with ACS, I just want the community to know that we are here, and we are here to provide the support and the services that this community needs.
Yes.
And what I want is everyone on the installation to be aware that ACS is here. Here are the kinds of things that we do. And guess what? We may not be doing something. You let us know that you need something, and then we'll look at how we can provide that, or who on the installation, or if there's someone outside the gates that can provide that type of service for our soldiers and our family members.
Right. So we're not just wrapping around in ACS. We're wrapping around the installation.
Absolutely.
We're wrapping around El Paso community.
Yes.
We are that one-stop shop.
One-stop shop. And we are your first choice.
Yes.
Fort Bliss, we are your first choice.
Definitely.
For family services.
That's right. First choice for family services.
And I know we're kind of moving out of COVID, as well. Our military life consultants have been doing counseling sessions telephonically and video non-medical counselings as well. They've been seeing people in person if they're comfortable with coming out, to see people in person. The influx in the brigade has been working in the footprint, and that has been driven by the command's needs as well.
Okay. So good stuff. So Nancy, thank you so much for coming and joining us. One of the things that we do before we let anybody leave, the question we ask is, what brings you joy? So what brings you joy in working with ACS, being part of the ACS family? What brings you joy?
What brings me joy is knowing that what we do makes a difference. And oftentimes, I know we struggle sometimes. We do events, we do classes, and we may have a very small group. There may be that 5 or so that's in that class. But I always say those 5 benefited. And when they benefit and then they share, then others are going to benefit as well. And so that's what brings me joy. And the other thing that brings me joy is the staff, actually. Look at you guys doing this, getting to know ACS. This brings me joy. To see the creativity and the innovation that you have with doing this. So I really thank you guys for doing this, and I'm so appreciative for the ACS team that I have.
Yeah. And just, speaking, I can't speak all ACS, but we appreciate you.
Yes. And
I'm sure, Jasmine, appreciate you giving us the opportunity to bring this platform to, our community, because without you, we wouldn't have been able to do this.
Right.
Wow. Without you giving us that stamp of approval, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So we appreciate you allowing us to express our creativity.
Absolutely.
Yes. That and all the people receiving this information, right?
Yes,
so.
absolutely.
Yes. So, our MWR family.
Because
MWR helps us.
I know. Yes.
They produce us.
Exactly. And they are very good at what they do.
Yes, they are. But with that, Nancy, if you don't have anything else, I think that's going to conclude our podcast for today.
Well, thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. It was like, yay. We were so excited. It was like, oh, Nancy's going to be on the show.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that being said, thank you all for tuning in to Getting to Know ACS with Tracy
and Jasmine. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell.
Bye.
Bye.